Good Sunday morning, Cincinnati, and welcome into another edition of the Bearcat Brunch, brought to you by Royal Links Golf Tours. Have you always wanted to play at St. Andrews? Have you ever enjoyed a perfect pint of Guinness in Ireland? Royal Links Golf Tours is a golf tour specialist offering unforgettable golf experiences in Scotland, England, Ireland, and Wales. Their custom itineraries are more than golf trips. They are immersive, cultural, and country experiences that will surprise and delight you both on and off the course. Royal Links Golf Tours is owned by former Bearcat quarterback Hayden Moore and his partner, UC alum Jeff Bartholomew. So if you'd like to play St. Andrews or famed Ballybunion or enjoy that perfect pint of Guinness, please visit their website at royallinksgolftours.com or call them directly at 770-331-1525. And with that, we are back for a off-week edition of the Bearcat Brunch. The Bearcats had a much-needed week to rest up to get ready for a big two-game stretch. So welcome in, as always, my co-host Jeff. How are we doing this morning, Jeff?
Oh, we're doing pretty good, considering it was a long day of football yesterday. Starting with
a lot of football to watch yesterday.
Starting with 9-year-old football in the morning, all the way up to the big showdowns across college football.
Did the 9-year-olds get the dub?
They did. They did.
Nice.
So they ended their regular season 4-4 this year. That's one more win than they had last year. So that's progress. Playoffs for next weekend.
Progress. Yeah. But yeah. So obviously we don't have a UC game to discuss. So we thought maybe we just kind of get into some first half superlatives and kind of look to the second half of the season. Colin, right out the chute. Are we exclusively covering the Vols game? No, we are not. That is not. That would not be fair. As much as I, am in a very good mood, thanks to the Volunteers' victory, we will obviously and definitely start with the Bearcats and give the Volunteers their moment when we discuss all of college football, which there will be plenty to discuss because yesterday had a lot going on. But no, this will not be a volunteer brunch. So we will start with the Bearcats, and let's start with your offensive MVP through six games of the season. This works out great too. The bye week, we get it at the halfway point. So
halfway,
it worked out perfect to do something like this.
So for my first half offensive MVP, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Ben Bryant. That's who I have selected. He's done what has been needed. Obviously, like the first game, it is what it is. Like you want to know about our thoughts on that specifically, go back to the first episode. But no, I think he's come in and done what the Bearcats have needed coming off of Desmond Ridder leaving. There was a quarterback back and forth in the spring and then into the training camp in the fall here, and then Ben's shown up and taken care of business. So he's 122 for 185, 1,500 yards, 65% completion percentage. So I think he's doing fairly well there.
Yeah, I mean he's 32nd in passer rating nationally. Now, I don't know if there's a minimum pass attempts you have to throw, but it looks like everybody that's in that top group has thrown, is a starter, has thrown a bunch of passes. So 32nd in that. He is 40th in yards per attempt. Let's see. He is. Where are we at here? Trying to look up. He is 22nd in touchdowns. He is. Now, this one might be a little more skewed looking at completion percentage. He is 41st in completion percentage. So, you know, well in the top half of quarterbacks around the country. So, yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about some of the interceptions, a few of the sacks, seem to just pop up here and there. But I think, all in all, coming off of, especially after the first half of the Arkansas game, I think his play has been pretty steady, pretty good. I will give my first half MVP to Tyler Scott offensively. Does not lead the team in receptions anymore. One reception behind Trey Tucker, 28 catches, 500 yards, 6 touchdowns, a long of 75, an average yard per reception of 17.9. So he is the big play guy. He is the field stretcher, and I think we saw in the second half of the South Florida game that without him out there, things got a little more compressed. Weren't able to maybe take those explosive shots that they had done the previous 5 games, and we'll see where he is health-wise next week, which was announced late last night that it will be on ESPN at noon against SMU. So make sure you're all ready for the big boy channel, ESPN.
Hopefully SMU keeps that little pony locked up in some
we don't need
corral.
any more poop on the field.
Yeah, ridiculous.
But so let's switch it over to defense. This one, I mean,
you think it's pretty easy? You think this one's easy?
You can go ahead and give. We'll let you go first. You give it, and then I'll come up with someone, and we can say like why that person also could be up for this award.
I mean, we talk about him every single week, glowingly. Last week I guess it wasn't as through the roof, but Ivan Pace. I mean, it speaks for itself. He's got what's he up to now? 62 total tackles, 30 solo, 5 sacks, a forced fumble, and a pass defense is what he's been credited with so far. And the chaos that he creates on the field. I don't think there's anybody else on defense you can give that award to. I think you're gonna try, and I commend you for that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go by like Pro Football Focus, he's the best defender in the country. I don't know if that changed after not playing this week with their numbers and things. I mean, he's got plus 90 scores in run defense and pass rush win rate. Like, I mean, he's just been outstanding. So it's very hard to come up with someone else, but for the sake of this, I will go with Jawan Briggs. 26 total tackles, 3 sacks, has been a big part of the run defense's success through the first half of the season, and has really done a good job moving into that spot, replacing the production of Curtis Brooks from last year, and just kind of spearheading and leading the entire defensive line to what has been a very, very strong first half of the year.
That's fair.
So let's do a special teams MVP.
I won his jersey in a giveaway this week.
Oh, you did?
Mason Fletcher.
In the walk-ons thing?
Yeah,
me too.
Aaron won one as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a awesome place down in Louisiana, by the way. Like they have a really good thing going on.
What is it like
It's like a sports bar.
Yeah. So I thought their thing was kind of cool that they were buying those and supporting all the walk-ons through his jersey thing. So gave it a shot, got one. I'll be rocking it whenever it comes in. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's like a whole lot of. I mean, he's had 28 punts this year. I had it pulled up here a second ago. Now I think I clicked out of it. I mean, he's a weapon as a punter. I don't know that you'll find a punter that will hold on to the ball quite as long as he does. Like, I understand it's the way of kind of the Aussie punt thing, but sometimes I'm like, can we get it out a little quicker?
He had the one that they ended up down at the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
I was like, that guy, is he gonna get that blocked? Like
I wasn't sure if it was a fake that got like totally just like thrown off, but he was just hanging out back there while nobody was coming after him, and he's like, all right, I'll just chip this down there, and we'll get it down inside. He's I think he's averaging 44.1 in net, so can't ask for a whole lot more out of your punter. And whenever he gets hit, he is also has a little bit of chippiness to him. So
yes. I mean, we haven't, like, Ryan Coe, I think, has been fairly solid. He's 4 for 7 on field goals, which is not great. It's not terrible. He's made 31 out of 31 extra points, and he's done a pretty good job on kickoffs. We hardly ever get any kickoff returns against us. So I will go with, the Gunners on punt. Whoever is out there, I will
Drew
go
Donnelly,
with them. Yep. Drew Donnelly, Kyle Scott, Trey Tucker, whoever's out there, they all get an award because we have done a nice job with punt coverage, downing several punts inside the 10, 15-yard line, limiting returns. I don't really know if there's really been hardly any returns. So I will give that to the Gunners for that. So moving on to, let's do our breakout player, called surprise, breakout, whatever, for the first half of the year offensively.
So I don't know necessarily that it's a surprise, but he has already matched his production from last year. And it is your first half offensive MVP in Tyler Scott. He ended last year with 30 receptions and 520 yards, and he is already there halfway through the season this year.
That's good.
So that I think is good. He's a guy that obviously, like, if you are a fan, paying attention, like, he's a guy that was on kind of the radar of somebody that could put something like this together, but you saw his importance when he was not in there after he got hurt, and I didn't give him the MVP, so he's my breakout offensive guy. And I had a like a 1A 1B kind of situation going on, but I'll give it to Tyler Scott.
Makes sense. I mean, we expected big things from him, but you are replacing your main outside threat in Alec Pierce. You're sliding into a new role, new quarterback. So, unfair to just assume that there would be this like seamless transition, and there really has been, and maybe even above and beyond what we expected. So I can definitely understand that. I will give my breakout player to Nick Mardner. 9 catches, 118 yards, 3 touchdowns. Has kind of, worked his way into a nice role, he's kind of, scored touchdowns in multiple ways. I mean, he had a vertical shot against Arkansas, and then you saw against South Florida where he kind of was able to use his size on a really nice throw from Ben, because Ben put the needed velocity behind it to get it in there, and then let Mardner use his body and his size to kind of take in that ball. So I think, depending on Tyler Scott's availability, could be seeing more from him in the second half of the year. But I mean, you just have Jaden Thompson's coming on. You have 4 like pretty solid wide receivers. We'll see when Will Pauling returns. You've got a good group, a lot of different guys that offer different things. So it's nice in the passing game to have that ability. So defensively, who is your breakout surprise player through 6 games?
So I'm going to go with Dante Corleone.
There you go. That one was obvious.
That one's pretty obvious. But there's also, you've also got like Eric Phillips, who came in kind of like, hey, Malik goes down, Eric Phillips comes in. So he could be kind of a 1B, but Dante Corleone, just his ability to cause chaos up the middle, and he's at 10 solo tackles, 22 credit with 22 total, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and he can eat a whole lot of skyline. So
yes, he can. Oh man, this one was tough for me. I had a couple different guys. Oh man, I think I'm gonna go with Byron Threats.
that was also on my list of possibilities.
28 total tackles. He is 5th on the team. He's got a sack and a half, a pass defensed, an interception, and just felt like, when he wasn't in for the end of the SMU game and then the first half of the South Florida game, we just felt that there was a void on the back end, and he seems to be a playmaker, but also just like helping get guys aligned in right positions, and still a very young guy, so a lot to grow from still.
Sophomore.
But like I think there was like a bunch of guys you could have picked, like him. I was thinking about Eric Phillips, like you mentioned, Justin Watley. There's several. I wouldn't call him a breakout guy, but Javon Hicks has had a nice first 6 games. We were wanting to see more from him. Wanting to see how
Sammy Anderson.
Yep, how he kind of took on a greater role, got more disruption back there, but that was so. But I think I would go with Threats just because of he's been solid tackling. He's made plays. What does he have? Not the team lead in only 1 pass defense, but does have the. No, that's 6. I'm all messed up this morning, but no, I like what he's done, and I felt like you could tell that he was missed when he was out. That quote game over the 2-game stretch. So let's see here. Let me get into real quick. Thank you everyone for joining. Good morning, Crypt Keeper. Good morning, Jason. Good morning, Holly. Marcus asked a question as to why haven't we seen more of Trey Tucker developing into a downfield threat? And I don't know. I mean, he was at times when I remember the Marshall game a couple years ago. He had some long plays, and there have been a few this year, but it's not like they've used him in a strictly like just go run fast by a guy, similar to how they do with Tyler Scott. And I think maybe part of that has to do with alignment. When you're in the slot, there's just more traffic. The safety's closer. It's harder you have to do a better job or a more efficient job of scheming a way to get a guy from the slot out in the amount of space needed to go deep with less bodies out there. But I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, he's very good at what he does, but I mean, I think that's a way to maybe use his speed to create lanes for the tight ends. I mean, you have him kind of go through a zone, vacate an area, and then have a tight end coming behind that or under that is something that you could see happen in the second half of the year. Alex asked, how am I feeling? I'm feeling great, Alex. I had a lovely evening with Mrs. Bearcat Journal Twitter.
Did I see you went to some seafood joint?
Well, we went to the new Jeff Ruby's downtown. They moved locations recently from wherever they were to right off of Fountain Square. So they have a nice bar area with a nice piano and a band, and it was a much fun day. And so here's one hilarious part about yesterday. So if you listen to the podcast, you know that I do not go to the road game watch parties at the Holy Grail because it is bad luck. I went to one several years ago when they lost at Temple, when we were at Taft's Brewporium, and I have not been back since. Well, yesterday we watched the entire Tennessee game at the Yard House, and they won. So I don't know if it's a Tennessee thing, if I'm allowed to now go to watch parties for the Bearcats, if this streak is broken.
let's not try to break that the next 2 weeks.
Oh, I'm not going to risk it. Believe me, not going to risk it. I mean, it very well could just be an anomaly. So there were a lot of Tennessee fans. I mean, some actual Tennessee fans, and then a lot of people cheering just to see Alabama lose.
Then anti-Alabama fans.
And then we were walking back to the hotel to get ready for dinner, and I'm blasting Rocky Top from my cell phone. Just walking with all these people down there because of Blink, and everyone's just like go balls, and it was quite an evening. But yeah, so the streak might be broken, but we're not going to risk it, especially these next 2 weeks. So, what are you looking for? Let's say offensive. We'll start offensively, defensively. Just like one or two little things that you want to see get better, improve on, keys to success for the second half of the year. That now that we've had this break, we're 5-1. Have the off week going into SMU next Saturday. What are you wanting to see starting offensively that kind of you think is going to put them in the best position to continue to win and hopefully make the AAC championship game?
So some of the guys that we didn't even mention across the little superlatives there are the running back core. I know that we got a core. I don't know what Kiner's status is. Hopefully he'll be back next week. Just want to see them continue to get the running game going, to lean on that and then open up some more of those downfield shots. Obviously, those are the exciting plays. I need to really kind of on defense, I think, look more towards containing these mobile quarterbacks. I don't know if there's like some scheming things they can do, some spies, whatever. Obviously, like we had some difficulty with those throughout the. I don't know if it was this show last week or if it was on PTP that I talked about it. Obviously, these guys aren't KJ Jefferson, but it started there, and then the Kennesaw State quarterback. Obviously, it's just the parity and talent. And then last week, yeah. So we gotta kind of lock in on that. I think on defense, and we'll be okay because we're gonna come up against we got John Reese Plumlee, however you say his name there, because UCF could put up some points and hold on to the ball for a little bit. So we need to that's my thought process defensively is to lock in on those edge runs. Keep everything contained in the backfield. I think that will lead us to the AAC championship there. And then on offense, continue to use the run game to open up the deep shots.
I agree with you on the run game. It's been a positive development the last 2 weeks. I think that needs to continue. I want to see better production on first down. I think that's kind of why we're having issues in the third down, which obviously we want to improve on third down, but I think let's be better on first down. And then I'd like to just see a little bit better protection. I know it works hand in hand with Ben and the way that the plays are called and plays develop. But I think we're just taking too many sacks. I mean, we're 6 games in, and he's been sacked 14 times. To me, that's too many for this type of an offense with running backs and receivers that we have, and just clean up the interceptions a little bit. It seems like he just gets one a game. He has 6 through 6 games, so I mean, one a game, but that's too I feel like that's too many, and some of them have just been bad throws, bad play design, bad. Whatever that can get cleaned up. These aren't a bunch of interceptions where he's throwing good balls and DBs are making great plays. I mean, you have the Arkansas interception, you have the Tulsa interception, you've got the 2 deflection interceptions against Miami, and then South.
I was gonna say he's had several deflection ones.
Lenny, that I think that was South Florida. Was that Indiana? Indiana, I think.
Went through.
Yeah. So just kind of cleaning up those things. defensively, third down. I mean, you can't continue to be this bad on third down and get away with it. And then, I'm not going to panic yet because it was one game. They had not had an issue. I mean, KJ Jefferson did some good things, but I would say Gary Bohannon was even more effective running the ball than KJ Jefferson was.
Yeah.
So, how do we attack the running quarterback? Weirdly enough, like Tanner Mordecai for SMU is not a runner, but he's got some wheels. Like he had a 70-yard touchdown run the other night against Navy. Like he's not going to run in the sense of a KJ Jefferson, Gary Bohannon, John Rice Plumlee, but if they send a bunch of guys out into a pattern and you're in man and you turn your back, he's gonna go and he can run. So, how do we limit, control, stop, whatever term you want to use, the quarterback run game? That's going to be the key in these next two weeks, and just getting off the field. SMU plays the breakneck pace, very similar to Indiana. So, if you can get them off the field, if you can get them into third downs, then you can control the game because they want to go so fast. And then if they're off the field, then you have a lot more control over what's going on. But we'll obviously get into that then much more this week. So I think that about. Do you have anything? Let's see here.
Oh, actually, right there, Holly just brought it up. That's another.
Yes, getting the tight ends more involved in the passing game. No doubt about it. Would love to see it. I think part of it just becomes a matter of the targets. Like if we're going to run, if you want to run the ball, and the way that Chuck and Corey can run the ball, you've got 100 and just over 120 something carries between the two of them. Ben's thrown 185 attempts. So you are a little bit more pass than run, but it's just tough. Like we want the ball to go to all these guys, and it's hard to say, okay, yes, Tyler Scott, we're going to take targets away from you, or Chuck and Corey, we're going to throw the ball even more, it's a tough dynamic. I mean, it's a good problem to have. I think there are ways that they could integrate them a little bit better, a little bit more effectively. But it is tough when you have two solid running backs. You have four receivers that can all make plays,
and two NFL tight ends.
Two tight ends. Someone's just you're not getting the ball to somebody.
There's only so many possessions in a game, and I do like that they bring Wiley in a fullback kind of scenario to try to get him more involved that way. I know it's just blocking, but he does it well. I would like to see that, and I seemingly forgot them, much like seems the team has thus far this season. And I don't mean it in a negative way that they forgot them. Just mean they haven't been utilized as much as possible. And I think you hit the nail on the head. When you have that many weapons, at some point somebody's going to get left out. And I'm certain that between now and the end of the season, there will come a game or two where it will come down to some plays that Lenny and Josh make to secure the victory. For sure. I mean, they're very good security blankets to have. I think we just need to use them, find ways to use them. Maybe right out the gate. I know Josh had what could have been a really long game that. I mean, he'd admit it was just a flat drop against South Florida on kind of a quick seam throw that was there. So maybe it's a matter of getting them more involved early, which then can maybe suck the defense up a little bit, Yeah.
And then you can try that stuff over the top. We seem to do it the reverse. We take those big shots early, trying to loosen them up that way. Which makes sense. I mean, if you hit a couple early ones over their head, they're now on their heels. They're worried, and that's when you should be able to run the ball more effectively. So I think that's kind of where we sit going forward. We'll obviously have our usual uh, previews and everything this week leading up to the SMU game. But let's go ahead and shift things to what was I guess it was a wild day of college football. I kind of feel like, even as a Tennessee fan, I kind of feel bad for TCU fans. Like they won a big game, came back, we're down 17-0.
Yeah.
Came back, have now beaten like 3 or 4 ranked teams in a row, and like no one's talking about it. Like,
and they're still undefeated.
Yeah, good luck finding anybody talking about the TCU game yesterday.
Well, that's because there was another game yesterday that I think, so yeah, if you looked at it yesterday, you had like the way the day started, you had Michigan Penn State, which you thought could be like
a good game,
a good one, which it turned into a Michigan route. I think they had like 400 and some odd yards of rushing, like
418 yards rushing, I think.
Some old school Big Ten, like run it down your throat and try and stop us kind of thing. That one. Then you had obviously Alabama, Tennessee, and then later on a game that I did not stay up for was Utah, USC.
I saw the end of that one when we got back to the hotel, and I was wanting Kyle Whittingham to go for 2, and he did, and they got it, and they won. So
I watched the highlights of it this morning, and that's one of those situations, like everybody talks about it, and it extends to all levels of football. It's like these analytics, and I said it on PTP on Tuesday, like I think analytics I hate them just because, like, go with your gut, like go with your gut. That's what I like.
I think they can help reinforce your gut feeling.
That's true, but like then I think
like I was wanting, when Tennessee scored, I forget which touchdown it was. I was wanting, with like 3 minutes to go or something, 4 minutes to go. I was wanting them to go for 2 there.
When they were tying it up?
Yeah, like I wanted to go for the win there, because I was like, okay, then you know like exactly what you have to do. Because even if you don't get it,
one way or the other,
score a touchdown, then we got to score a touchdown and get 2. Or we can, if they don't score, then it's like, okay, we still only just need a field goal. We're only down 1.
Yeah.
I just like being super aggressive, and maybe to a fault. I don't know.
I mean, that's okay too. Like,
where should we start? Should we start in Knoxville?
I think that would be appropriate.
Okay, so I mean, I still don't believe it. I mean, they had lost 15 in a row. They had never beaten Saban. The most points they had scored in this series against Nick Saban was 24 last year.
Well, they scored the most points on Alabama that Alabama's given up since 1907 against Sewanee State or something.
Sewanee College, yeah, it's in Georgia.
Does it still exist? Is it still a college?
Maybe, yeah, it might be. It might still have it. College of the South might be called now or something. Yeah. So,
okay.
But yes, at 1907, most points Alabama has given up was yesterday. But I mean, everything, like Bryce Young's availability. Obviously, he played phenomenally. Like, he made some throws that I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. Like,
right?
It's just some plays where he's running around and he stops on the dime and just throws a pinpoint accurate pass. Or I know he had one to a tight end on the sideline where I was like, how do you, like, you couldn't have thrown it any better.
Well, that one, he had a touchdown pass where he was rolling to his left and threw like this. It was like the Patrick Mahomes sidearm, like, or if you want to go back even farther, like a Brett Favre sidearm, like bullet. But then you look at it, there's over 1,000 yards of offense in this game.
It was a fun one to watch. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs, I know Bryce Young is awesome and he's going to be a high first round draft pick. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the best football player on their team. Like what he can do, his running ability, the way his vision, the way he kind of goes from like fourth gear, throttles it down, and then like his like he is unbelievable as a pass catcher for a running back. And then, but like, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but like I Josh Heupel, like I don't know what you're doing. I never would have seen this coming. I crapped all over you when you were the coach at UCF. Like things progressively got worse for them, and somehow things are progressively getting better. Like his offense is very basic, but it's also hard to defend. And you would think, like, I think the conception was, or the train of thought in the SEC was, well, just give these teams like a full year, year and a half to kind of understand what that offense is, and they'll be able to like slow it down. And they're not. I mean, maybe Hendon Hooker is just that good, and he should be in.
He's a lot of fun to watch.
He should be the front runner for the Heisman.
He is a lot of fun to watch.
I mean, he's thrown multiple touchdowns in 18 straight games. They didn't even have their best receiver. Like, I won't even.
You could have fooled me.
Yeah, Cedric Tillman's better than Jalen Hyatt, who had 6 catches and 5 touchdowns.
At 207, I mean that's what a Tennessee record for touchdowns in a game. Like,
yeah, I mean Cedric Tillman is a better receiver than coming into the year and through the beginning of the year than Jalen Hyatt. So, I mean, if you can't if they still got to play Georgia. At Georgia, so we know that's not going to be easy. But like, I mean, they're scoring 50 points a game. It's hard to. Yes, the defense isn't great. The DBs don't tackle well. They're not great in zone coverage. Like there were a lot of plays yesterday that you're just like, what is going on? But they scored 52 against Bama. Like it's gonna be hard to just think that all of a sudden some team's going to hold them to like 27.
Did I read it correctly that like Alabama, because like I didn't really look up a whole lot of stuff, but like they were only giving up like 12 points or something like that a game, Alabama was, or something. It wasn't anywhere up around obviously giving up 52 points.
52. Yeah, I mean they gave up 19. Like they gave up 0 in week 1, 19 against Texas, 7 against Louisiana Monroe, 3 against Vanderbilt, and then they started playing some real teams. They gave up 26 to Arkansas and 20 to Texas A&M.
Yeah, so probably came out to about 12. That's probably a correct stat that I looked at.
But yeah, I mean, outside of Georgia, Tennessee has Kentucky, Vandy, Missouri, and South Carolina in the SEC. Like, so not.
Natalie poses a good question. How did they get so good so quickly?
So the offense that they run is very exciting to play in, and it's very easy to learn and execute well and fast. So the way that they align the receivers, same thing we saw at UCF, like literally almost out of bounds. And it's just very hard to defend because you're defending so much space with very few people. And they've got a good offensive line. They've got a decent enough running game. And he's basically taking the UCF offense with SEC players. And you can get good fast. And like I said, the defense still has the ways to go. But like you don't need a Georgia level defense
when you're throwing up 50 points a game.
When you're scoring 50 points a game. They had last count, they had 10 5-stars and 35 4-stars visiting for the game last night.
I would say that from what I know, I sent you a text about it last night. I said like that stadium, the atmosphere there is unbelievable, even on TV. You can call me biased, you can call me whatever you want. Like when Tennessee is going, it's top of the line. Like I mean, and like for you, you're down at the Yard House. I assume they probably didn't have the.
No, I didn't hear anything.
So you couldn't hear anything.
No,
I was sitting in my house. Like I looked at my wife a couple times, and I'm like, "This is crazy." Like, just listen to this place.
Oh
And
yeah.
obviously it's an SEC game and it's like whatever, but it looked incredible. My sister-in-law is a Tennessee grad, so I was hearing it in text messages from there too. Like I think I got every version of Rocky Top that's on YouTube has been sent to my phone in the last like 12 hours. So Tennessee fans, they know how to do it.
Yeah, I mean one of
Hats
my
off.
one of my buddies that I met in school. So he grew up in Nashville, so he's been a UT fan. I don't know how many games he went to before we went to Tennessee, but I mean we got there. He's a year younger than me, so I got there in 2000. He got there in 2001. He's had season tickets forever, and he texts our like group chat, and he's like, "This is the craziest game I've ever been to."
They
And
broke the decibel record. I
we've
don't know
been
if you
to
saw that.
some crazy games in that stadium, and like it's wild. They obviously tore the goalpost down, marched
They
those,
took it to the river, threw it in the river.
baptized it in the river, took it down the we call it the Strip, Cumberland Avenue, like kind of where all the bars and restaurants are on campus. Walked it down there. I saw a picture. Now I don't know if this is real or not, but the tradition is that whoever wins the game, they smoke cigars. It's been going on forever. Tennessee and Alabama. So there's a picture of like from outside the stadium where there's like a cloud of smoke like coming out. That's a lot of cigars to be. My buddies were smoking them inside the stadium. It was I would
have to assume maybe that's the smoke from like some fireworks, and then just made into. But it's believable. Well, it's believable from like the amount of people that are in that stadium, and then I think every picture I saw, everybody had a cell phone in one hand recording and a cigar in the other hand. So like, I mean, it was cool to watch, especially as like somebody that's like not like in the I'm not like a Tennessee fan, like whatever, like crazy person. I love to see Alabama lose when Nick Saban went haywire on the sideline after
when that guy dove on that punt for no reason.
Yeah,
that was great.
He essentially dove on it and then hiked it backwards back for anybody to grab, and then Saban went ballistic, and so I immediately made it into a GIF because it is an awesome GIF to have. So you had that. Like things seemed like they were going Tennessee's way early and often, and then
I almost put the kibosh on them.
Then Dave almost put like I said,
I said like this is no lie. I sent that text to my group chat. I said this is usually the part where we shit down our leg. One play before they fumbled.
And that was such a
I could not have done that any worse at that moment. That like I sent that and literally 15 seconds later they mess up the mesh on the option play and just drops and Alabama runs it right in for a touchdown. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
And that at that point it was a bit like
Oh, it was very much like this is what Tennessee does. Like they play a game unexpectedly great. And then when it gets crunch time, they do something dumb and Alabama wins. And, we all move on and it's 16 in a row and Tennessee can't get over the hump and all that stuff. But
and then they come down and they stop Alabama, and then Riker shoves it right. And you're like, okay, there's 15 seconds left. Like this is going to be going to overtime.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Bama was doing on defense. Like,
and then they
had two timeouts. So why are you giving up the middle of the field on these long passes?
Yeah, they just let Hendon Hooker do whatever he wanted, throw in those passes, and they call in timeouts. And then the final catch, I mean, that was a great catch. Goes up, gets it, comes down, and the announcers are all like pointing out the fact that like, hey, it's a first down. He's down. There's 3 seconds. The clock stops.
Yeah,
so
like
they have time to call in timeout.
Everyone in the bars yelling, call timeout. And I'm like, it's a first down. They don't have to call timeout like right away. They're going to put time back on the clock.
He didn't try and be a hero and land and like fight out of anything. He just went right down to his back, saved whatever time was left, was like 2-3 seconds or whatever, and then the ugliest field goal I have ever seen. That I'm sure to Tennessee fans is probably the most beautiful field goal they've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
but it was. I don't know if somebody got a finger on it or what, but it looked like it was spinning sideways.
Well, I don't know. He might have false started one. Like it looked like he kind of like went up on his toes, and then they snapped it. Like so, I don't know if that like kind of threw off his timing a little bit, but it didn't. It seemed like he was moving a little bit before
But,
the ball was down or whatever. However, the timing works on the field goals, but I mean, they were playing Dixieland, which most people listening to this won't know this.
right.
So Dixieland Delight was written, about Tennessee, like driving through Tennessee, but Alabama plays it during every game. It's like their song. And when the game was over and everybody's out on the field, they were blasting Dixieland Delight in the stadium.
Yeah. I heard that and I didn't like.
Isn't that song also by Alabama?
Yes, but they're from Tennessee.
I know, but it's by the band Alabama as well. So it's like a multi-layered troll job. Well done.
Oh yeah.
It was awesome. Like I heard it and then I saw like the tweets and stuff going up about it. And obviously there were all kinds of like records and things that like they said they broke the Neyland Stadium decibel record, which was like 118 and now it's 124.
Yeah.
Which is very loud. And it's like I said, that was something that was like literally conveyed through the TV, like the speaker. It was a fun game to watch. All that kind of stuff is really cool. It's good for college football, and I've seen numerous people say college football is better when Tennessee's good. So
now the fight you've unleashed like however many years of pent up frustration. Our fans are pretty annoying to begin with. Now it's just going to be insufferable.
Well,
like everybody asked for it. You wanted them to take down Bama. Well, now you got it because you got a bunch of Tennessee hillbillies and rednecks that are going to just be saying all sorts of ridiculous things.
So there's like a comedian that has been doing these like how mascots were picked, like kind of like a roundtable joke thing. And I think he's actually a Tennessee fan. I'll tweet it out later what his name. It's Joshua something or another, but he's like, it's like the guy's like, hey, look, we got this football team, like do we have anybody that wants to like throw out some stuff? And the guy's like, I'll volunteer. He's like, okay, thanks for volunteering. He's like, no, that's it, we're gonna go with the volunteers. He's like, we had the Tennessee volunteers. He's like, could we be the Warriors? He's like, no.
War of 1812, we saved Texas. So
he's like, what's the mascot gonna be? And he's like, I got a blue tick coonhound down at the
a hound and a Daniel Boone looking guy.
Yeah. So but it was exciting. It was fun.
Here's the question. So I don't think it's going to happen. I think Georgia, Ohio State 1-2. But looking at who Tennessee's played and who they've beaten, so they have a road win at ranked Pitt at the time, win against Florida, road win at ranked LSU, and now a win against number 3 Bama. Nobody has played nearly the schedule and won the games that they've played so far. I do not think they will be number 1 today, but I do think if the CFP committee had a poll coming out today, they would be number 1.
I would agree with that. I mean, Georgia. So if you're gonna, because Georgia's probably still gonna be up there as they thumped Vanderbilt 55-0.
Right.
But they've only played Oregon in the first week at home, and true enough, and
Oregon's really good. I mean, that was much more of a Georgia thing than an Oregon thing.
Yeah, but then they struggled with Kent State and at Missouri. It's like, I think that I don't think there would be anybody angry if the poll came out today with Tennessee at the top.
I don't think so either. I mean, I'm sure Ohio State fans would be angry.
Okay, but who have they played?
Exactly.
And I know that's kind of a silly like back and forth, like who's this team play? Because like that's what everybody always goes to. But legitimately, who has Ohio State played?
But that's how else do you like measure teams up against one another if they haven't played? If they haven't played each other, you look at this team's won a bunch of games, but like the teams they beat aren't good, and this team's won a bunch of games, and we think that the teams that they beat are pretty good. So will just be interesting from that standpoint. I think they'll be third. I would have Ohio State 1, Georgia 2, Tennessee 3, probably Clemson or Michigan 4, 5, Alabama 5 or 6, something in that realm.
I think Kirk Herbstreit.
Kirk Herbstreit did have Ohio State 1 and Tennessee
2.
Tennessee 2, yeah.
And then he went Ohio State, Tennessee, Georgia, Michigan, and then Clemson, Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama very easily could have lost to Texas A&M. So Clemson's been pretty good. So, but there's still half a season left, and all those teams are going to play other big games. So a lot to shake out from that. I
mean, Alabama also could have lost to Texas, like early.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that was with Bryce Young and without Quinn Ewers.
So I'm not saying that Alabama's not a good team, because I think they are. Just saying.
They're a really good team. Anytime you have Bryce Young and Jahmyr Gibbs, like you're gonna be tough to beat.
Absolutely.
But let's see.
You don't have anything else you want to say about your beloved Volunteers?
No, I mean it's just like it's fun to have two teams that like actually try to win games, because for a while I had one, and it wasn't the one with the SEC budget and the CBS TV deal. It was like an unmitigated disaster for a long time, with children like in positions of power and allowing boosters to decide who was going to be hired as a coach. And we can make fun of UCF all we want as Bearcat fans, but like they hired Danny White as the AD from UCF, and he hired Josh Heupel, which definitely was not his first choice, but so far it's worked out exceedingly well. And they just have adults now, like people that know what they're doing, are making decisions and running an athletic department and running a football team. And then you can see what can happen when you do that, because the fans are dying. Like I can't imagine like if they called people today, like, hey, will you donate to this fund or like, I mean, how much money could you possibly make right now if you're Tennessee? Like,
apparently, Danny White tweeted out today that like a donate link through Ticketmaster to probably to pay the fine for coming onto the field. And,
the $25,000 SEC fine for rushing the field,
and to replace the goalposts. And apparently it broke the Ticketmaster website. So like at least the donate link. That just goes to your point.
They better get some new goalposts quick, because they got a home game Saturday.
It won't take a bit. Well, if you remember, this is like a throwback UC thing. In 2006, when UC played Rutgers, the day before the game, Rutgers was undefeated. For those of you that weren't fans then or didn't know, but Rutgers was like number 7th in the country. The day before that, UC installed collapsible goalposts that they could like take down. And so like towards the end of the game, they were out there with these, they were trying to bring the goalposts down, and they didn't get them like folded down in time, because then we all rushed the field. And but so maybe they just need to go ahead and invest in some collapsible goalposts.
So I think yesterday the get-in price ended up being like $500 to $600 just to get in the building, like sit at the very top. My buddy sold his Akron tickets earlier this year for $350 a piece. So there are people like dying to see the Vols, literally dying to see the Vols right now.
That's incredible.
But let's move it on to the other, I guess, big game that I saw none of because I was watching the Tennessee game, is the Oklahoma State TCU game, which ended 43-40 in overtime. TCU coming back from a 17-0 hole to start the game. And the Big 12, man, it is every week. Yeah. Like TCU has gone Oklahoma at Kansas, Oklahoma State, 3 weeks in a row, all wins. Now this week they get another ranked Kansas State at home. The Big 12 is just, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of, right now, it's a lot of parity, even with Texas and Oklahoma. Like, Oklahoma's not great. I think Texas is pretty good. But it is a fun conference to watch. You get a little bit of everything with the conference. I mean, you get Oklahoma State, TCU game that's 43-40, but then you have Kansas State, Baylor that are, they're going to play some D. It's just a really fun conference, and I think, we talked, there was some stuff that came out this week about the schedule for next year.
It's supposed to be released in November, right? Like they normally do in November?
Sounds like sometime in November. Made it sound like Texas and Oklahoma are going to be in for the I still will believe it when I see it, but in for the remainder of their contract, which would be 23 and 24.
Yeah,
so it looks like
if they come to Nippert, that's got to be a nip at night, right?
Well, one of them will for sure. We'll see. We'll see how it goes because they said that the goal or the plan is to have every team play each other at least once. So you might get Oklahoma here and then not play them in 24, Texas, vice versa. But the goal is to have everybody play everybody at least once over these next 2 seasons. But it's just a fun conference, man. There's a lot of good football. And, Oklahoma. I was riding Kansas yesterday, and Oklahoma just comes out, and it's just like, where has this been? Like,
right,
you guys
and decides to play football?
You couldn't score against Texas, and now you had almost 500 yards of offense in the first half against Kansas. I still almost got the backdoor. Almost got the backdoor cover. They only lost by 10.
And Kansas has been really good this year.
Backup quarterback. I mean, their offense. Lance Leipold can draw up some offense, man. Like there's whoever gets him, if they can keep him, if they can, and he goes to Wisconsin or Nebraska, like he can drop some offense. If you're doing that stuff at Kansas, cleaning up the mess that Les Miles left you, like.
Well, let's be honest. Kansas has been a mess for a long time.
Right, but I mean, Les left him a super big mess, and it's taken him 2 years to clean it up and get actually good and competitive. But Michigan, Penn State, I was surprised at that one. I thought Penn State defensively would do better than allowing 400 and something yards of
418 rushing. Yards of rushing. They had, Donovan Edwards had 16 carries for 173 yards, and Blake Corum had 28 carries for 166 yards. So, and then they had their quarterback had like 57 yards, and then CJ Stokes had 22 yards.
Yeah, it's
they didn't throw. Michigan obviously didn't throw the ball much. He was 17 for 24 for 145 yards.
Didn't have to.
Yeah, he had no.
Michigan's going to walk. I mean, maybe Illinois, but like they're going to cakewalk to undefeated going into Ohio State. I mean, they're off this next week. Then they're Michigan State, Rutgers, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Then Illinois at home, which Illinois is a good story and playing good football, but like they're doing what Michigan does with like lesser players. Like they want to play the running game, defense game. That's not going to work against a team like Michigan. They're like, okay, yeah, let's do that game.
Yeah.
And then obviously Ohio State on the November 26th. So like they're sitting pretty over the next 5 weeks before the Ohio State game,
which will obviously be another fun game to watch. Hopefully, with the Michigan defense and the Ohio State offense, and see how it goes. So what else do we have?
Clemson, Florida State. I didn't see a ton of that when I was. That's when we were kind of out. I saw some of the first half. Then Clemson blew it open, and then Florida State made it close at the end.
Yeah, came back and scored 14 points in the fourth quarter and lost by 6.
So I mean, they're doing their Clemson thing again. Syracuse. Can we talk about another orange?
The orange.
I mean, they were greatly helped out by Devin Leary being out for the season for NC State. Their backup quarterback situation is not good, but I mean, Syracuse 6-0, and it all ends next week. I mean, next week they play Clemson.
Oh, you never know, though.
Yes, I do.
You don't know. You don't know.
They have a tough slate. Okay, so they got off to a 6-0 start. by beating Louisville, UConn, Purdue, Virginia, Wagner, and now NC State. And this is the rest of their schedule. At Clemson, Notre Dame, at Pitt, Florida State, at Wake Forest. Like, they could easily lose all 5 of those games and be 6-5.
That's fair. But most importantly, they ran right out to bowl eligibility.
That's right. Hey, that's what you do, man. Hey, when you haven't been good, who cares how you get it done?
Speaking of Notre Dame, they lost to Stanford yesterday.
What the hell is? I mean, you realize Notre Dame's 2 losses are to Stanford and Missouri, or in Marshall, who have not beaten any other FBS teams. They're 0-7 outside of their wins against Notre Dame.
I don't know what to say. Like I flipped the game on after Alabama and Tennessee, and it was just like I was like, what is going on? Like they just couldn't do anything right. They weren't moving the ball. It was just that I turned it off before they I guess kind of made it close. So
I think we do need to touch a little bit on some non A automatic autonomous 5, as there were 2 big upsets in the Sun Belt last night.
Georgia Southern over James Madison.
Georgia Southern over James Madison, and ODU taking down everyone's darling Coastal Carolina. So
that's why Coastal's been like all over the place on Twitter. People like, well, they're done. I didn't see it yesterday.
Yeah. So that, let's see. Let me look at standings of the Sun real quick. So the one division of the, I don't know how they
split this up. Yeah,
split it up. Whether they call it East, West, North, South, but
Old Dominion is 2-0 in conference. Coastal Carolina's 3-1. James Madison's 3-1. Georgia State's 1-1. Georgia Southern is 1-2.
Yeah, like outside
all the way down to Marshall, who's 0-2 in the Sun Belt,
but has a win over Notre Dame. But yeah, most of the good teams are all in that East division. So, like, Coastal and James Madison still have to play each other, I think, or maybe did they already? I don't even know. I know they still have to play.
Yeah, that's the final game of the season.
Yeah, so they still have to play App State and James Madison. James Madison, I think, already played App State. Wasn't that the game they lost? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to be a Fun Belt expert, but there's
James
a lot
Madison beat App State, yes.
Okay. So there's a lot of, ODU's in first place in the East, and they're 3-3 overall, and they still have to play James Madison and App State, Georgia Southern, Georgia State is a pretty good team for being 2-4. So, there's a lot still to happen in that conference, but if you're like a UC, you're a Bearcat fan, you're watching the AAC stuff, there is only the 3 teams, Tulane, UC, and UCF, that have no losses, and SMU and Houston are the only teams that have 1 loss. Everybody else has at least 2. So this is really already, we're not even to midway point of October, and this is really like a 5-team race for 2 spots at the most. That's assuming Houston and SMU basically win out and keep only that 1 loss. So you're UC still has to play SMU, obviously, UCF and Tulane at the end of the year. So we'll see how it goes, but there's only.
Kenny asked a good question over here. Do you think UCF will be ranked after that blowout win?
No. We're getting to the point where, like, teams with multiple losses are still going to be ranked because they're, whatever. Like LSU has like 2 losses, but they won, their losses to Tennessee and Florida State in week 1 and beat Florida last night. So, like, I think you're going to get to the point where there's still power conference teams with multiple losses that are going to be in the back half of the top 25. Now, it might help them because, like,
they weren't even getting votes last week.
Yeah.
They did. I take that back. They did get votes in the coaches poll, but not in the AP. They were not listed as having any votes there. So it could be kind of difficult for them to jump up that far, at least in the AP.
Yeah, I mean, and they're way down in it too. Like,
yeah, they had 10 votes in the.
Illinois is going to be like, if you're just looking at the coaches poll, like Illinois is going to be ranked, Florida might be ranked, Tulane might be ranked, and then UCF is somewhere in there. But like North Carolina won, Texas won, Baylor didn't play, Kentucky won. Like, there's nowhere for them to. If Kansas jumps out, if Utah jumps out, and teams move up a little bit, that might create a couple spots. But I think there's teams like Illinois, Florida, Tulane that have a better case for jumping in there than them.
The Citronauts.
Yeah, I mean, they put it on. I mean, they put it on Old Temple, man. Holy cow! I don't care who you play. You score 70, you got it working that day.
Yeah. And you know what? I think they should. I think the Citronaut is a better mascot for them than the Knight.
In the Knight?
A little alien orange.
Yes.
What else? Ole Miss beat Auburn. Kentucky pulled one out
I
over Mississippi
was surprised
State.
by that. I thought Mississippi State would fare better. I did not see a ton of that game.
I didn't either. The only thing I saw was there was a clip of a Mississippi State player kind of tapping a Kentucky lineman on the face mask.
That was good.
He went flat, knocked out on the ground,
ran over by a semi truck. Apparently,
no.
I saw some tweet. It was like Kentucky deserves to win this game just from that acting.
Oh.
But
Then
no, it was
Iowa State, Texas.
Yeah, Iowa State's not good, and somehow they were
right in it,
winning that game until the bitter end.
And nothing really stands out from that game. I mean, Quinn Ewers had 172 yards passing, 17 to 26. I guess the Iowa State quarterback did throw for 330 yards.
Was there anything? I don't want to steal any of Aaron's thunder. But did anything of consequence happen? Well, there were only 2 games yesterday. East Carolina, man, Memphis. I'm telling you,
yeah,
that's 2 weeks in a row that they have blown big leads against Houston and ECU. Not looking good there. But
Tulane handled South Florida 45-31.
I was close for a minute, and then Tulane scored. South Florida fumbled on their first play, and then Tulane scored again. They were right in it for a while in the second half, and then that happened. But you want to let's go ahead and move to the Bearcats in the NFL. I think it was a fairly big week last week for UC guys in the league. What caught your attention with those guys?
Was it Sauce's first pick?
Sauce's first pick got a safety.
And he took Teddy Bridgewater out of the game with strip sack safety, whatever. And I guess it wasn't a strip because he called it was going forward, whatever. But
intentional grounding.
Yeah. Is that what they ended up giving him?
Yes.
Yeah.
On that. Yeah. Whatever. But that's the Sauce we all know and love, and he's starting to get quite a bit of love around the league.
Oh yeah.
I saw that he was the Pepsi
defensive rookie of
the week. So he was awarded the belt.
Oh,
Pepsi sends out like a championship belt to those folks every week, and the DB's coach for the Jets, who I don't know who it is, but he said that he can now go by Sauce in the NFL. So there's that.
Who else we got?
Let's see. Well, you had Travis Kelce.
Yes, the 7 catches, 4 touchdowns.
7 catches, 25 yards, 4 touchdowns. His brother told him he was selfish.
He was selfish, yes. He was hogging all the touchdowns.
On their other podcast, he's like, you went out there and had everybody else do all the work, and then you get 4 touchdowns. But I think Brian Cook's out with a concussion. It's okay in single coverage. Sauce is allowing a 17.8 passer rating. So there's that.
That's good.
That's pretty good.
That's good.
I don't know how Derek Forrest did this week. So what is sorry, we should be better. Yeah, we should have been a little bit more prepared on the
I got
NFL, but
home late
last night was a very long day for me.
Had to drive around some. Oh, here we go. So Mike Boone, 3 catches, 47 yards receiving in their Thursday night game against the Colts. Kobe Bryant, 2 tackles, 1 forced fumble. He's making plays week in and week out.
That's his second one, isn't it?
Alec Pierce, 8 catches for 81 yards. I think I've seen Aaron's done. If you're not following Aaron, got to be following Aaron. He is the king of the hashtag Bearcats in the NFL tweets. There's some good numbers on Alec Pierce.
Yeah, I think Alec Pierce got
targets and.
Alec Pierce got the 2 for last week because the week before he had 4 catches for 80 yards and then he had 8 catches for 81 yards. So he got the 2 for recognition last week because they played on Thursday.
Oh, that's true. He probably did. We talked about him twice.
That's okay. He deserves it.
He does.
Then he was at the UC game after that.
At the homecoming game, right?
Yeah. It was like him, Ryan Royer, Basevich, and him, and they said like what they were all doing, and Ryan Royer was like thanks for not like pointing me out as the engineer because now people might think I'm a Harvard med student.
Anybody else pop off?
I think obviously Travis Kelce's the big one, and at least offensively, and then you've got because we talked about Alec Pierce in his other one already, and then it was nice to see Sauce get that first pick and come in on that blitz, which I love. I love the Sauce Gardner blitz because at least in college when he did it, it was, like he was shot out of a cannon, and because no one was ever looking to that side of the field, he was always able to. The one against Houston at the end of the year last year is probably one of my favorite Bearcat memories. So I like the Sauce blitz.
For sure. So I guess we'll close it out talking about the pitiful Bengals offensive attack last week in Baltimore. I did just see a video where Joe Burrow arrived to the stadium wearing Jamar Chase's national championship jersey from 2020, which I think is a pretty cool thing to wear to the stadium, and playing in New Orleans, playing in Jamar's hometown, paying tribute to him. So, but yeah, the offense sucked last week, especially the very strange sequence of play calls down first and goal from the 2.
Yeah,
I am obviously everybody's going to scream about the play calls themselves. My bigger concern is that we are 5 games into a season where the offense, whether it's the play calling, whether it's the coaching scheming, whether it's the players executing, does not know how to beat a cover 2, which is not a new defense. And it's
not
a defense,
some exotic thing.
And it's a defense that they expected to see based on what they did to teams last year. So the fact that you are unable to move the ball with any semblance of success, any semblance of consistency. I mean, Joe Burrow threw for almost 1,000 yards last year in 2 games against the Ravens and averaged 4 yards per drop back last week. Like, I don't have any words. The defense is continuing to keep them in games. If you score a touchdown down there, like, I don't have a problem going for it on fourth down. Just, I mean, like, what are you running a shovel? Like, you're gotta have it play. Is a shovel pass to your fifth wide receiver who really only plays special teams.
I mean, it was almost like they were like, they'll never see this coming.
But even if you say, like, well, you don't run the ball down there because it's all clogged up. Well, you just ran a shovel pass right into the middle of all the people. So you basically did the same thing as if you just handed it to Joe Mixon.
to an actual running back.
Yes.
Instead of whatever that was, and clearly it looked like the line was like a little bit confused on where their blocking assignments were on that play.
Yeah,
like
I mean, Zach went after Collins quickly when he got back to the sideline, like he didn't do something correctly. But
Volson, I think, totally whiffed on his block on his assignment on that play as well. Like it was very weird, and it all came after the Philly special that got blown up.
What are you doing? Just, I mean, the first down play I'm fine with, like Hayden Hurst, whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But like, you follow that up with a Philly special. Which, like, why? Just hand the ball off to Joe Mixon or run the.
They were averaging 6.6 yards a carry.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, they've been terrible at goal-to-go situations, and they haven't been able to run the ball. So, like, I get it if you're like, we don't want to run the ball here because we haven't been good at it, and the one rushing touchdown we have is because, like, all the linemen pushed Mixon into the end zone. But then you're running a play where you take the ball out of Burrow's hands with the Philly special play, and then on the fourth down play you essentially take it out of his hands again. So, like, if you don't want to run the ball, okay, then how about we just line up and throw it like a normal ass pass play?
Yeah. You've got, and I get it, like with like no T Higgins, like that obviously like showed up quite a bit, but still you've got Jamar Chase that you can throw the ball to. You've got Hayden Hurst who's been making crazy plays. You have options that don't include these like carnival ride plays that you try to throw together and be something you're not.
It felt like they're just trying to be like somewhat like the smartest person in the room and somewhat like tendency breakers, but to the extreme. Like sometimes it's okay to just run the ball, or it's just okay to line up in a normal formation and say, like, we got a good quarterback and we got some good receivers and we'll find the mismatch and we'll beat you that way. Like, you don't run those plays with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon. You run those plays with injuries or in games that don't matter, or, with backups in, like, where you need to do something like that. Like, it just made no sense. They're still not dead by any sense of the imagination. Like, I mean, you go to New Orleans today and win, and you're 3-3, and you have a much more home games coming up than road games against some shaky teams, and the Saints are decimated with injuries.
You've got the Saints. We went over this last week. You get the Saints, Falcons. So you're at the Saints. The Falcons come here. We're at the Browns. Then the Carolina Panthers, and then the bye week. Yeah. So hopefully, this pans out. You're 6-3 going into the bye week, and I think that is doable.
Yeah. I mean, the Saints are like, they have no receivers.
Well, they've got Andy Dalton.
But they do, and he's 2-0 against the Bengals
with two different teams.
But they have Michael Thomas is out, Jarvis Landry's out. Chris Olave, I think, he practiced Friday, but I don't expect him to play. They've signed like multiple guys off their practice squad. I think Marshawn Lattimore, their best corner, is out. Like, if the offense can't get going today and you can't go down there and get a win, then it's 5-alarm fire time. Like, you're 2-4. You can't afford. I mean, you just can't afford to lose any more games.
At least going into the bye week.
8-3 the rest of the year to get to 10-7, and then have a realistic shot at a playoff spot.
Yeah, I mean, they, like you said, they should, in theory, from what we're looking at, be 6-3 going into the bye. With what,
they haven't been
8 games
they haven't
left?
been consistent at all for me to say that. I mean, yes, they should, and they have the ability to be. That's the frustrating part. Is like, they have the ability to be, but
I mean, they've lost by 3 points, 3 points, and 2 points. Like,
the defense has not given up more than 20 points in regulation yet, and you've lost 3 of those games. It just doesn't make sense, and the offense has been abysmal, non-innovative. The execution's been bad. I think the play calling's been bad. How you're trying to attack defenses. I don't know. But today is kind of a make or break game, given what the Saints are dealing with. Given that there's going to be a ton of Bengals fans there, so this is not going to be like a big home field advantage for the Saints. You have to come out with this win. And I'm not going to say like if they don't win, the season's over, but like I just said, you got to go 8-3 the rest of the way to get to 10-7. That's a hard ask when you still have to play the Ravens again, the Bills, the Chiefs. Like, you still have the Bucks. You still have some hard games left on the schedule. So,
Marshawn Lattimore is out for today.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston is going to dress, but he is only there as an emergency quarterback in the event that's needed. Chris Olave is unlikely to play, but he's still questionable. He had a concussion. Paulson Adebo is questionable. He's a cornerback. Marcus May, the safety, is also questionable. So,
they don't have enough guys to field a team without these questionable guys dressing.
Jarvis Landry and Michael Thomas, are both out. God, their list
they have another receiver that's out too that I don't even know who he is, but he's one of their like game day active receivers every week.
Deontay Hardy.
Yeah.
Yep, he went on the injured reserve.
Yeah.
For his foot. So they are in shambles as far as that goes. And the Bengals, I think T. Higgins is still listed as questionable, but he was. There was some video of him on the practice field when they weren't in the bubble. He looked like he was running pretty well.
I'm sure he'll give it a go, but it depends on
how it feels.
I think they'll be much more like his pregame warm up. Well, they're not gonna have it happen again like last week where he plays one series and then is out. Like they need to have somebody else. They need to have somebody else up. If he only thinks he can do that again, then I don't know if he'll play.
Jonah Williams is questionable, but he did come back into the game after dislocating
his best game of the year with a dislocated kneecap.
Yeah. Hayden Hurst also has a groin injury, but
this is like when you just think about like NFL players and football players in general. Like if you or I did something that dislocated our knee,
no thanks.
We'd be like, yeah, I'm out. Like I'm not doing anything for.
I'd have like a full air cast on my leg and
these guys are like, yep, just wrap it up, trainer, and I'm going back in.
Give me another brace.
Then I'm gonna play 6 days. 6 days later, like it's unbelievable what these guys do. I mean, great, they get paid a lot and they know what it is going into it, but like, they just laugh at some of this stuff.
To be able to perform at that level, I mean, like you said, he had his best game.
Yeah,
like Eddie's, down half a leg. So,
we'll be. I'm sure we'll all be watching. Maybe
2 hours from now.
Maybe I can get a nap in during the 4:00 game. Although it's Chiefs Bills, so that'll be a fun one to watch. But
I'm just glad I don't have to wait until Sunday Night Football. That was awful. I hate that.
That's what the commercial is. You've waited all day for Sunday night.
Okay, well, you know what? Play all the games at 1:00 or 4:00. Like, I don't want to wait until nighttime to watch. At least the Bengals. Just keep the Bengals in the 1:00 slot.
That's right. All right. Well, I think that wraps up another Bearcat Brunch. Thanks everybody again for jumping on and watching live and interacting. We appreciate it. we will be back next Sunday to hopefully recap a win from Dallas against SMU. But between now and then, please make sure you tune into the BBP, the PT. We got a lot of acronyms. The BBP, the PTP, the Bearcat, the BCJ, the Rock of Truth. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. The Nightcaps. Got basketball is in full swing now as we head towards the season, and then 6 more regular season games, and then hopefully another home conference championship. Absolutely. But with that, thank you, and everybody have an enjoyable Sunday, and go Bearcats.